Most of the time when we hear about a Star Wars game, it usually is about our favorite characters from the movies or the crazy battles between the Jedi and the Sith. But sometimes we get a different take on the Star Wars galaxy that focuses on the people at the ground level, such as the Battlefront games. But what about one from a very unique perspective? That's what LucasArts eventually came up with for the original Xbox back in 2005. Star Wars Republic Commando is a first-person shooter set during the days of the Clone Wars. More specifically, between Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. For anybody that's not privy to what's essential for Star Wars fans to follow, this game is not considered canon to the franchise anymore. Instead, it's now part of the Legends content that's mandated by Disney. But we're not going to be deterred from taking a look at it regardless. The story here focuses on a group of 4 elite clone troopers called Delta Squad, who are genetically modified and trained differently from the rest of the Republic's clone army. They are called Clone Commandos, tasked with taking on dangerous missions for the Republic as they fight the Separatist Trade Federation in open warfare. You play as the leader of the group named Delta 38, and your squad mates are Scorch, the explosives guy, Fixer, a hacking and overall tech expert, and Sev, a master sniper and loyal soldier. Basically, these are the guys that you send in for the real tough covert missions, while the Jedi and the Republic army storm the front lines. This is a cool concept because it really blows up the scale of what's happening during the prequel era, indicating that there's a lot more going on outside of what we see in the Star Wars movies. I say this, but ironically, the game doesn't take you to many locations. Things start off on Geonosis during the big battle at the end of Episode 2 there, and then move on to Kashyyyk before the events of Episode 3.
Eliminate target.
Critical systems failure in 4 minutes.
Remind me to leave the ship before we destroy it next time. Superdrive!
Unlike many other first-person shooters of the time, Republic Commando has a very strong focus on using your squad to get things done. Without them, you're just bantha fodder for the droid armies. You'll have to complete mission objectives while coordinating with your squad to engage battle droids, tank walkers, super battle droids, Geonosian guards, and much more. Being a lone wolf here isn't really a good idea. You can only take so much blaster fire before you go down, so being tactical is very important. Controlling yourself and your squad is surprisingly easy. The controls are similar to most other FPS games, so they're comfortable to use and easy to understand. Issuing orders to your squad is mapped to one face button on the controller. All you have to do is look towards something that your squad can interact with and hit the button to execute an order. Whether you want to have someone guard a spot for you for suppressive fire, or breach a door into the next area, it's very easy taking command of your squad. During firefights, you could change the combat tactics of your allies for any situation, telling them to stick by you or to go off on their own to fight at will. A lot of this reminds me of games like Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, and even SOCOM US Navy SEALs, where the tactical parts of combat play a key role in how you proceed. It's not about running and gunning, but more about how efficiently you take down enemy units and complete your objectives. The only big difference here is that this game is set in the Star Wars galaxy, and honestly, it works out very well. Now, while I think this is a very unique and interesting approach, a lot of the game is plagued by technical issues that get in the way constantly. My biggest problem is how inconsistently strong enemies can be, especially in the later missions. Some of them feel like they could absorb all of your attacks and randomly one-shot kill you with ease, and yet sometimes they could appear dumb by just standing still and taking all of your attacks. It's super jarring and really throws off the momentum in some missions. This isn't helped by the fact that your weapons don't always feel as useful as they probably should be. For example, your standard blaster or sniper rifle doesn't always deal enough damage to enemies when they need to, which can lead to some pretty sticky situations.
Give yourself some better, Commando.
Yes, sir. On my way. Beautiful strike, sir.
Erase 1. Sir, I'm detecting a transmission signature. From clone troopers.
I'll check it out. Don't get
One thing that stands out as the most annoying part of the game is fighting the super battle droids. They feel way too overpowered and are frustrating to deal with when they show up, and the game has a nasty habit of throwing a ton of them at you. The easiest way to engage is to throw an EMP grenade and attack with your whole squad. However, when you have to deal with more than 4 or 5 super battle droids at a time, it could be a problem. Other enemies you run into are challenging and require some finesse to bring down, but I find the super battle droids to be the ones that impact you the most throughout the game. I got shot down more times from engaging these things more than any other enemy. They would just power through most of my attacks until I was lucky enough to destroy them. And speaking of, if you get shot down in battle, get ready to wait there because you have to wait for your squad to revive you. This gets super annoying when it happens so quickly in combat. You could call one of your squad to run over and revive you. However, your squad could be a little dumb and ignore incoming fire from nearby enemies. This happens a lot and could cause your squad to get wiped out. I hated every time I would see someone run to revive me while completely oblivious to nearby droids that are shooting at their head. Luckily, you could change your orders to make it so that way they engage the enemy first before reviving you. But even then, I'd see my squad do the same thing over and over again. It gets very frustrating and can be super lame. I nitpick at many things with the gameplay of Republic Commando, but the most disappointing aspect here is the lack of post-game extras. Don't get me wrong here, there are unlockable videos in the menu that offer a behind-the-scenes look at how Republic Commando was made. It's neat seeing the process of how Delta Squad was brought to life and the creativity that went into adding a unique layer into the Star Wars mythos. However, it's not enough to make me want to go back through the experience again. Unfortunately, you don't get any special items or bonuses for completing the story that impact the gameplay itself. It would have been really cool to see some extra missions or even an epilogue to the story that maybe took place years after the Clone Wars. Apparently, there was supposed to be a sequel to Republic Commando that took place during the Galactic Civil War, which is during the original Star Wars trilogy. It was going to be called Star Wars Imperial Commando and probably would have been also made for the original Xbox. The game never got far in development, however, but some ideas were said to have been implemented into a follow-up book for the Republic Commando novels called Star Wars Imperial Commando 501st. I would have been totally down to see another game made with this stuff in mind, or at least teased in some way at the end of this game, but alas, it just wasn't meant to be.
Well done, Deltas. The Wookiee defense systems are now online and available to destroy the Separatist cruiser. In the upper levels of each of the 4 bays, you'll find a Wookiee dual missile turret. Only with the combined firepower of all 4 turrets do we have the slightest chance of taking down this juggernaut. Get on it then, Deltas.
Why aren't we moving?
Save the button.
Oh, sorry, sir.
So after having covered just about everything there is, can I recommend that you play Star Wars Republic Commando? Real talk, people, I can only give this a recommendation for those who are already big Star Wars fans beyond the surface level. If you're someone who isn't really deep into the franchise already, then don't count on this game to make you into a big Star Wars fan. I feel like you're going to miss a lot of the nods and the fan service that's here, let alone appreciate where this game takes place in the Star Wars timeline. As a game, it looks very edgy and cool, and I would definitely say it offers a unique style of gameplay that you don't often see in Star Wars games. But the technical issues and the frustrating parts of the experience I feel will stand out way too much for some people. All of that aside, this game is now considered Legends content, so you won't be missing too much if you decide to skip over it.
Something must have spooked those crits. Slavers!
It's a Trandoshan patrol.
Take him out.
Scout droid.
Nice. Strike 1, Trandoshan